All right. Quite an exciting topic, talking about how we can use some of these exciting tools, digital tools, to engage the masses with such important content regarding sexual and reproductive health rights. Uh, sorry, getting a bit of feedback. As mentioned, I'm a medical doctor, but some many years ago, almost 10 years ago, I discovered what technology could do in terms of helping us solve long-standing problems in the healthcare sector, in terms of helping us increase access to health or even increase the quality and reduce costs. And so since then, I then diverted to pursue a full-time career in e-health or digital health as it is known now. And it's been quite exciting to learn what technology can do, and to also see the sector particularly growing, especially after COVID-19. So we now have digital health really recognized and entrenched in many ministries of health in many countries. And so then there is opportunity for us to then really look at it and say, how can we then apply this in SRH? I know before people would consider it as a gimmick, but now it is an established form of practice or a form of engagement. So I currently work as a consultant, working with various NGOs, startups, corporates, people that are trying to leverage technology for help in different ways. And at the moment, I'm in the UK for some studies at the University of Oxford. Right. So let's get started. I think what's important is to first have the target in mind. Many campaigns, the way they seem to be run, it's like just shooting in the dark, where people have just committed funds, um, to say, okay, we are going to be communicating this to the masses and so forth. But then we always have to first understand your target, set your target, set your objectives, and then from there you can then work your way backwards. I'm sure many of you kind of agree with me or have seen examples of initiatives where it might even be, government sponsored or national, level thing, and you wonder, is this really effective? In terms of is it reaching the people that it's supposed to reach, or this was just a tender that someone got and they're happy getting funds from the government or maybe from a big NGO to be seen to be doing something, but without actually having specific objectives in mind to effectively evaluate whether that was working or not. So that's why it's important to understand the target, have a target, and then set objectives, and then you then work your way backwards. The mode of communication that you would use is then informed by your target and your objective, even the budget. So sometimes people start off with the budget first and then work backwards. But first have your target and your objectives, and then which form of technology you want to use, which platform, which kind of content is then um, informed or guided by what your target is. So what I'll be doing is I'll be sharing examples of some of the work that I have done. Obviously, most of the work is here in Zim, but you guys will be able to, I'm sure you can identify with those sentiments, and from there you can then glean those insights of what you can do in your various projects to then be more effective and get the messages out there and really engage your target market. It's not just about spraying a machine gun, but it's also really about engagement. Getting that feedback, something that where there's two-way communication. Most of the campaigns is just one direction, but we are looking at how we can actually achieve engagement. So obviously, our setting here is about is in Nigeria. So here just some stats which are similar to our picture in Zim. Stats that I got from online data reporter. That just give us an idea of the operating environment that we're in. That will also then kind of really shape in terms of the target audience for our messages. So we know like approximately half of the population is rural. I said it's almost similar to Zimbabwe. If we're looking at adolescents and young adults, maybe we're looking at those age ranges 10 to 30, and we're saying the significant part of the population is between that age group. With you guys being such a big country, that's millions of people. And then half of this population has internet access. And we know that most of the people that are using the internet then are achieving that connection through a mobile phone. So they are using mobile phones to get onto the internet, and the penetration in terms of cellular connection is quite good in Nigeria, over 80%. Maybe the NCC has better statistics than what Data Reporter is, but generally we're saying it's almost reaching universal access in terms of people in the country having access to a mobile phone or having a reception in their area. Like I said, mentioned the traffic. Most of the traffic is coming from mobile phones. So it means if you are going to be using the internet, you have to know if you're going to be using the internet as a platform, you then have to know that most of the people are using mobile phones. So then your content has to be something that can be consumed on a mobile phone. Then the internet connection speed, as far as mobile internet connection speed, it is decent. It is from the figures that Data Reporter was looking at, it is somewhat similar to what we have in SIM. So yeah, it is for those that have access to that 3G, 4G, or 5G signal. The mobile internet connection is indeed decent. Then from there, we then look at social media reach to say if you are doing an advert on a social media platform, what percentage of the population can you aim or realistically be able to reach? So if we're looking at Facebook, we're saying the reach with Facebook is 16.2%. We're saying here because I'm sure most of you know that if you are using social media platforms, Facebook or YouTube, it's a paid ad. You pay them, and then they will then go through their list of accounts and kind of then present to you a target. So we're just kind of looking at the reach to say if you use popular platforms, what's part of the population will you be able to reach? So Facebook is 16.2. That's the biggest reach. So it means I think it's the most used social media platform. Then you have YouTube following 12.6, TikTok quite active at 10.5% in terms of reach. Then Snapchat 6.5%, and
I just put it on me. Just say that I just put it on.
Sorry, Jemima, please mute.
It's not pressing it at all.
All right. Yeah. Then LinkedIn's just 4%, and Instagram 5%, and then even lower for X. Obviously, this is if it talks about something like TikTok, to say 10.5%, is talking about the whole population. But if we're to then zoom in on our target population, if we even were to put it between both people between the ages of 10 and 30, then yeah, that could be a higher usage. It's important to have these statistics in mind, because sometimes the people that sign the checks, the people that make decisions, people that don't use such platforms. So, these are people that are maybe more familiar with Twitter or X, or people that might know of LinkedIn or might know of Instagram. But then it's important to then make the decision based on percentage of where you'd likely get more people. So you might then need to convince them to say, no, TikTok is the platform to use, even though many of the people that are in the decision making whatever positions might not even know what TikTok is or have an account on TikTok or Snapchat. So it's important to then kind of have these statistics. But then also beyond these statistics, we then also look at having the actual target in mind to say we're talking about adolescents and young people in Nigeria. How then do we really focus on them? Because then all of this will inform the content platform. It will also inform your content strategy. It informs your budget and so forth. So this is things that people in marketing get to do. And even though we are involved in the healthcare sector, we also need to apply similar principles to then say, all right, before you engage in what you want to do you know who these people are? Can you identify what their needs and what their desires are? Because needs and desires are different. Do you know even what they like? Because then you might then craft your content in relation to what it is that they like. They like music, they like sport, they like fashion. Then that will inform your message, and then how you then can reach to them. You can also try to think about what could they be made to like or want, because this is about influencing people. Sexual reproductive health rights are not top of mind. But then what we're trying to do is change the culture the same way as what we had to do many years ago when we're trying to make condom use the norm as part of the response against the HIV. So you have to look at how you may be able to influence this diverse population of people. So you also look at what could they be willing to pay, what could they also not be willing to pay. And when you then have these questions as well as others, it then really kind of gives you an assurance to say, if I come up with content that is speaking to these questions, then that content you'll then find the best platform to then use to deliver it. Many times people then just do what they've been doing all along, whatever, put an advert in the newspaper. But then will someone who's a young person, adolescent, read that newspaper? The organization, yes, can then take a photo and put it in their reports to their funders or donors to say, okay, we did publish this in the Daily Gazette and so forth. But then, is it really getting to where it needs to go? So these questions are always important, understanding your target and going surgical, going as micro as possible, so that you then really have an informed decision. Because without that, then you might actually spend a lot of money on something that will not move the needle. And for us as Africans, it then will become no surprise to us why many years later, after independence, after pouring billions of dollars into sectors like ours, we don't seem to be moving the needle. We don't seem to be achieving the changes, because sometimes things are not done with intent. Things are not done with proper thought. Right. So having answered these questions as well as more that you can add, let's maybe look at some of the platforms or how to then deliver the message. So let's look at some of the obvious or conventional wisdom. Look at what bigger organizations have been doing, the big NGOs, the multinational NGOs, how it is that they approach things. So here in Zim, with this successful campaign regarding circumcision, encouraging boys and young men to get circumcised because it was said to reduce the chances of contracting HIV. So these guys came up with a hashtag to say "Kalife Kema Boss" to try and somewhat put the messaging that being circumcised is not something that one should be embarrassed of. Actually, if you've circumcised, you are now a boss. That's what the messaging was about. And so they put out these huge billboards that you'd see across the country. I think this campaign is many years old now, probably close to 8 years or even more, even maybe approaching 10 years now. And they still have those billboards across the country that are there talking about people getting circumcised and entering this life from a boss. And it will go again with the usual where you'll get your influencers. Your influencers will then come in and be part of the campaign, people who are paid. So this other one that's on the right here, which is talking about Love Shouldn't Hurt. It was a campaign against gender-based violence. And for those that know a bit of Zimbabwe, Winky D is one of our top 5 musicians, very much well loved by the urban youth and so forth. So they got artists to record a song, a collaboration, and then the song was then put on YouTube. It has 3 million views on YouTube, and then they had some hit songs that were topping the charts because they got popular musicians to be part of the campaign. So this is somewhat the conventional wisdom. Get your big billboards, print big things, get your brand ambassadors, real influencers. To then endorse the campaign, and then do all sorts of things, whether it's songs, whether it's concerts, and then also you can do adverts on radio and TV and in the newspapers. So we all are familiar with this, but the problem with this is that it requires a huge budget. Sorry, someone else needs to mute. Yeah, so it requires a big budget to be able to to do such a campaign, something that will certainly be out of the reach of smaller organizations. And it also could be of questionable efficacy. One of the organizations that was behind this circumcision drive, it was called Population Services International back then. I think they've changed their name. When I was working for the Econet mobile network company, they approached us and were not happy with their targets. So they were not reaching their circumcision targets that they'd set for themselves. And it was a surprise to say, despite all the funds dispatched towards printing billboards and putting adverts and all these things, these guys were still struggling to meet their targets. So it just goes to show that spending a lot of money does not necessarily mean you are going to be effective and reach the target. Right. So that's what we all are kind of familiar with. But now let's look at maybe the other ways of still getting the message out there, which might be less expensive. So yes, we are familiar with social media platforms, like I shared statistics about Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitter, and then TikTok and so forth. The thing with these platforms is that for your campaign to be effective, you really have to go viral. And I think many of us can agree that going viral is not something that's easy. Sorry, someone else needs to mute. All right. Yeah, that going viral is not easy. To get a video seen or a poster, an image seen on Facebook by millions of people, yeah, it's not easy. And people also, the type of content that goes viral is things that is scandalous. Someone has been caught doing something somewhere, and then that's the kind of thing that really then sometimes goes viral. So when you're then trying to engage the market with health education, and you want to talk about STDs and pregnancy and HIV, people see that as a buzzkill, and it's quite difficult for such content to go viral. So then, social media platforms might be very tricky. The other thing is, you might get lots of views, particularly if you have views that you're having to pay for. But then those views and those likes might not really equate to engagement. So some of the content that we are involved with in sexual reproductive health, it involves challenging behaviors, challenging mindsets, and also getting to listen from these young people in terms of what are they into. In terms of their pastimes, in terms of their sexual behaviors and practices. So there's need for two-way communication, which you then can't achieve if it's just posting something way on YouTube. You might get comments, but then there isn't that much effective engagement. And then now the important thing with all these platforms is that all of us are in there involved in an intense competition for eyeballs. We now live in an eyeball economy. Everyone is competing for eyeballs. So we have influencers that are putting up their content. We have musicians. We have news channels. So there's a lot that is out there demanding for our attention. And then if you are using that as your primary strategy, you then need to figure that in that it's not so easy to keep that attention. That as soon as someone has seen your TikTok video, which is maybe for a couple of minutes talking about message about whether safe sex or gender-based violence and so forth. As soon as it's done, there's a video coming up from a comedian that might be speaking on something that is opposite to your message. As soon as you've done watching your YouTube video, then the algorithm is already pointing you towards what's popular, what's trending. Or what music video is on, and so it can be easy for one to listen to and watch something, and then the very next minute it's gone in through one eye, out through the other, if we can put it that way. So there's a high chance of people getting distracted on these platforms. I think it's even higher when you with such things as TikTok, because there's a lot that's happening. We now have a generation that seems to have very short attention spans, and so then it becomes increasingly difficult to penetrate that with such messages, especially now with algorithms where you can just be entrapped in what you already like. So if someone is not already part of or liking content that is to do with safe practices, safe sex, or not having wild parties or what, it's then becomes hard for your post that you've put on your page to reach them, because it's not part of their individual algorithm. Hence, people then have to invest. So, on Facebook, you can invest $5, $10, $50 to try and reach a couple of thousands, which will still be cheaper than, the conventional approach of billboards and stuff. But then, like I mentioned before, the engagement might not then be quite direct. So social media platforms are available, cheaper than conventional, but also it requires a lot of work, the need for regular content to keep your audience engaged, because there are things popping up left, right, and center. If you put a video that's 5 minutes long, where people are supposed to be watching it, they might not even get up to that 5 minutes, because 2 minutes into the video, they see an advert about something that's happening, and then they've already switched and clicked off and gone on to watch that video. So that's the challenge that you also have to have at the back of your mind regarding social media platforms. Then let's move on to other platforms. Yes, so WhatsApp is technically a social media platform, and in Nigeria as well as Zimbabwe, it's the most used application online. That's the most used internet-based service is WhatsApp. So yeah, WhatsApp comes with the advantage that it comes at a subsidized cost, because we know data costs are an issue, particularly for our target here, young people and adolescents. And so with what these mobile network operators have done is to kind of give bundles or discounted prices for people to just be able to log on WhatsApp. So people might not have enough money or data to be on the web, but then they'll have subsidized bundles for them to access WhatsApp. So that's quite in favor for WhatsApp. And then now you can set up large communities and then be able to communicate with them. So you can set up a community on WhatsApp, or which are essentially very large WhatsApp groups. So it could be a community for a particular area to say, okay, this is for the young people at this other school, and then this is a different community that you may set for a particular university to say people going to this university are in this group, and then your content can then be going out to them. And I'm sure, as we have seen, you can kind of curate what goes in there, or even stop other people from commenting so that it's only just read only. So this offers a very affordable means to communicate with people. However, the reach is still limited. You won't be effectively able to manage WhatsApp groups that have tens of thousands of people on there. But if you are a community-based organization and you have you're working in a particular community, you can effectively use WhatsApp. The beauty, again, carries multimedia content, so you can have audio, you can have photos, you can have video, and then people can then engage with it. So WhatsApp is something that advise smaller organizations to really effectively use. And then you can even run your e-commerce platform on it, so that if you are selling some materials, maybe you're actually trying to promote the use of contraceptives, you can set it up on WhatsApp for people even to be able to place orders for contraceptives via the app, and then can even arrange for delivery. So WhatsApp really offers some very unique, offers a great opportunity for small organizations. Chatbots can be infused to kind of automate some of the processes and some of the communication, but then they will come at a cost in terms of maybe the skills needed to develop them, and then also if you are going to be sending out a large number of messages, there might be a cost attached. But really, I would say WhatsApp is like a low-hanging fruit that everyone should be encouraged to utilize, particularly for small organizations. Now let's go on to platforms that we have somewhat taken for granted. So good old SMS and USSD. Now, because yes, we now have smartphones and so forth, people are now kind of shying away from SMS. And then the USSD platforms where you punch in a short code and then it gives you a menu. In my experience, these are platforms that are available and very effective in terms of reaching millions. Like I shared in the earlier statistics, that I think it says more than about 87% of Nigerians have access to a cellular network. So it means, and the mobile penetration is also close to like 100%. So it means many people have access to a phone. It doesn't necessarily have to be a smartphone, but they have access to a phone. So it's something that is there, but it's somewhat underutilized. So let me share some experiences from work that I did in Zim. So we had this platform that we called Maisha Health Tips. which was a means for us to share health education. It was actually a fast service or a value-added service, so people would actually subscribe to it. So there were packages that we had, packages if you want to learn about how to prevent cancer, how to prevent diabetes, how to lose weight, how to manage stress. People would dial that short code, which opens up the USSD platform, and then from that menu you then pick the package that you'd want. So very simple service, and then they'll then get the tips daily via SMS. So if you are if you're someone who is like with a package there on women's health, so daily they'll be getting an SMS which would be talking about encouraging them to go and screen. It could be talking about diet. It could be talking about mental health issues, a lot of things that relate to women. So they'll then just get this as a daily message, something that people could then anticipate and look forward to. And we had over 1 million subscribers on this service. So that's quite a big reach. I think our list packages were some of the newer ones, like we had a package for preventing diabetes, which had 30,000 people on it. And our package for positive living, which was to help people that are living with HIV, give them tips. You might be living with HIV or taking care of someone with HIV. So to get daily tips on how to do it, we had close to 80,000 people on it. And the beauty was that this would be content that is coming in local languages. So with an option for English and then 2 of the other, major local languages. And to our surprise, even though all our marketing was in English, when people would subscribe, they would subscribe to the Shona package, which is the local African language. So we had 50% of the majority of our customers were actually on the Shona package. So what that just showed is that people are looking for content that is in their language, particularly with health, that is seen to be something very complex, or there could be a lot of jargon at play. People would choose to be on a platform that will educate them in a local language, and so that simple SMS service could do that. Then other people also effectively using SMS, Mom Connect. In SA, it's now quite established in terms of the Department of Health in South Africa. So this is a simple USSD-based service for registering pregnant mothers in the country. So what it would allow is for a pregnant mother to go to a clinic where they are registered, and then from there, through a short code, they'll be able to register their pregnancy. So effectively, it gives the Department of Health in South Africa a real-time database of who's pregnant in the country, and then once they subscribe to that, the women would also get messages via SMS about how to take care of themselves or what to look out for, danger signs, and any updates. One feature that they added was a way for the mothers to give feedback on the services that they would have received at the particular facility. So if someone wasn't happy with the way nurses treated them, they could then, independently via the USSD platform, send that feedback to the Department of Health. And by just implementing that rating service, the quality of maternal care improved. Because now the nurses or the doctors now knew that the mothers have a way of then giving feedback to the Department of Health. So people would then be very cautious or about how they choose to treat people. So a simple technology, USSD and SMS, but then effectively achieving a huge impact. And you can look at this to say, the Mom Connect is supposed to be, it's a national service that is for the whole country of SA. And when you then need to reach the entire population, the platform that they would go for is then a simple SMS. because that's what they'll then use. They've now added some WhatsApp to it to support, but primarily it's an SMS-based feature that works on feature phones, making it easy for them to reach every corner of the country. Whilst we're still there, again, I hope many of you are familiar with U-Report. We also have U-Report in Zimbabwe. As you can see there, this is about U-Report in Nigeria. U-Report is a UNICEF-based, it's a UNICEF resource or UNICEF tool. And what we'll do is, what it does is it enables people to give feedback via USSD and SMS. So it allowed UNICEF to kind of do surveys of what people's thoughts are, what people's views are, via people registering onto the service and then sending in their responses via SMS and USSD. So in Zim, I think we had 2 million. No, maybe not 2 million, but they did get a lot of users on it. And again, it's a simple platform. So imagine adapting it and using it for sexual reproductive health. You get young people at university to subscribe to it, and then through that kind of platform, you can then be able to ask them questions and get their feedback coming to you, and essentially then it becomes a much cheaper way of doing research instead of the conventional approach of sending out researchers that are going around doing interviews one by one. You can interview thousands of people at one go via SMS and USSD. So that's U-Report, and then another one is another one that we have used as an interactive voice response platform or IVR. It's that voice that you hear if you're interacting with your mobile network operator that tells you that the number you've dialed is currently unreachable, or the voice that tells you that you don't have enough airtime, that kind of that voice. So we used it to support the guys that were pushing circumcision numbers. As I had mentioned to you before, that they had invested a lot of money in doing billboards and hiring brand ambassadors as people, celebrities, brand ambassadors, and so forth. But then they were not meeting their targets. So what we did is we created this platform for them where people dial a short code on their phone, no matter even to work on a simple feature phone. And from that short code, it will then open up an interactive voice response, which is like a menu where people get education or information on circumcision. So people could learn on how circumcision is done, what are the side effects, where can they get it, and so on. And these voice messages could be recorded in local languages. So, with circumcision, people could be quite sensitive. People might be shy to disclose it to their friends, to say, I want to get circumcised, or I am circumcised, and so forth. But then with the phone, you can do it independently in a confidential manner. All you need is just any other phone, and it will be at no cost to the person. So you just dial the number, and then it'll ask you to pick a language, and then from that language, you can then pick what you want to learn about. So such platforms can easily be adapted on whether you want to talk about contraceptive methods, whether you want to push for anything that requires, giving people the education. What we also did was that after running this for a while, they actually saw that their numbers increased, and then we added a feature where someone could get a code that they can then hand in when they then actually go for the circumcision. So we could actually track to say 10,000 codes for circumcision were sent to this area, and then 1,000 of them were the ones that were used. So to say the response rate, to say 10% of people that got the education are the ones that actually went ahead and got the procedure done. So a lot of yes, and then you can also even geofence this to say this service should only be available in a particular area. So what we created was that a service where if a man of a particular age group, because circumcision was targeted for a particular age group, if a man of a certain age group would pass through an area that is geofenced, they'll then get a message asking them to maybe listen in on this interactive voice response, and then they'll also then get a code, and then which a code that they'll then hand in when they then get the procedure done. So because these guys were working in certain areas and they wanted to focus on those areas, we could the mobile network operator was able to geofence the service. So that's something, like I said, effective but then underutilized. Then let's look at web-based resources, websites or microsites that you can have your website that has information or education that is there, but then you need the target market to get to them. Like I mentioned, it's about 50% from what I've gathered of Nigerians that have access to the internet. And so, but that number is definitely growing, so it's worth a resource to use. So again, taking a lesson from UNICEF, they've the initiative, the IOGT, or Internet of Good Things. So this is essentially a website that has resources. I think there's a screenshot here. So there's resources about COVID-19, resources about children's rights. And what essentially would mean is allow is for a young person to be able to get onto that site and get credible information, information that is in the form of cartoons or content that is age group sensitive, and then they could then do this by themselves, to give them credible information, to avoid them getting anything from the internet. So that's what that platform said. And then working with mobile network operators like here, for example, Econet, I think they also did the same in Kenya. They were able to zero rate the web platform. So it then meant any person who who logs into this site would be able to do that at no cost because of these partnerships with mobile network operators. So that's something that then I think worth pursuing as well, because then when you have content that is multimedia form, such kind of coalition and partnerships could avail that to a national audience. Then you can also visit with QR codes, to be able to for people to easily scan and go to that site. And then if you are clever enough with your QR codes, it can be a way of also measuring in engagement or how people are using that website, or how many people are responding to information as it goes out. Right, I think I'm close to the end. Then another one, we know about the Internet of Things. The one I was talking about before was the Internet of Good Things, which is just the name that UNICEF came up with. But there's also the Internet of People, that if you give people internet access, which is via their mobile phone, they could get to do a lot. So this then kind of speaks to citizen-generated content, or even citizen journalism. So when I was at Econet, we had this service that we called Task Nights, which was quite effective in doing market research. So if it allowed a company to do research on its products, how its products are being consumed in the market at a fraction of the cost of the conventional way of doing market research. Because what we would do is recruit people that are across the country, get them to download an app, and then from that app, then a task or a survey would then come. And so they'd get to put in their responses to say, okay, then amount of coke that is being consumed in this area is this much, and so forth. So it was quite effective, and it's something that could also be modified and used for SRH initiatives. It could be modified such that you're sending out content, whether it's surveys, to find out what young people are in, or they actually could use that to report what's happening in their areas. Let's say maybe there's an area where there's drugs being sold, and they want to share that. So they can on such platforms be able to write about it and take a picture and send the picture, and even send a pin location to say this is where I am. Drugs are being sold here, or cases of rape or whatever, or maybe even to just report to say at this particular clinic they don't have vaccinations for human papilloma virus, or at this particular clinic they've run out of contraceptives, or the only contraceptives that they have are the pills. They're not offering maybe the long-lasting or long-lasting contraceptives, like the implants and so forth. So that's something that could really be used to use the people, that the young people that we know are across the country, and then get them on a platform and then use that to be able to get insights on what's happening. So instead of blasting them with content, this is them actually providing you with content and information. Right. So yeah, just to conclude, maybe the major points that I would hope you grasp as you go into this is, first, have a target in mind and set your objectives. To say, that's what your campaign, what you want to achieve with your campaign, and then that then informs everything. That then informs your budget, informs your content strategy, and even informs your platform that you want to use. Then what's also important is to not start with the technology. Many people, because AI is popular, AI is the craze. So people then say, no, we want to do something that is AI related, and they start from a technology point of view, to say, okay, let's get to use AI, and then but then AI might not be the right tool to use. It might then be maybe more costly to develop, and certainly with large language models, that's still something that is still quite new, that the AI might not be able to communicate in a local language and so forth. So don't start with the technology. First, understand the market, understand the target, and then you then be able to appreciate that maybe actually a simple SMS-based solution is what will achieve the change. It might not be sounding sexy or impressive to say, you guys are using SMS, where others are saying, no, we are now using AI. But then if we are looking at what achieves what meets what reaches the target and what achieves the goal, then it might just be simple technology. You also have to understand that you can't reach everybody. And even though you can reach everybody, you might not please everyone. So you need to have that with some, like I'm saying, with SMS, you might be reaching everyone, but it might not be multimedia content, because SMS is limited. It's just text-based content. Then there are platforms on social media where you can reach people with videos and photographs and so forth, but then they have limited reach. So you also need to understand that you can't please everybody, you can't reach everybody. And then what might be better is to start with the base in mind, to say, if we really want to achieve the need, if we really want to combat HIV and improve sexual reproductive health, let's start with the platforms that reach the most, even though they are not fancy, even though they don't sound impressive, or might not be regarded as sexy by some. Start with those ones, with such platforms. So it might just be simple SMS that then is allowing you to reach all the people. Then for those then that will then say, okay, we have access to smartphones, we have access to internet. Then you can then add those things, building on that platform, rather than start maybe with services that reach only a few people, and then wait for others to jump on, because things such as internet-based services or smartphone-based services, the barrier to entry is quite high, whereas for SMS the barrier to entry is quite low. Then it's also not about this method or versus that method. You might actually use all of the methods, so you can have your billboards being supported by your SMS-based strategy, being supported by a presence on social media, and then all those various channels will then be working in some form of synergistic approach to then make sure that you achieve the impact. But then, as we know, budget is always a constraint. So if your budget is tight, then go for those options that will allow you to reach more for less, and always don't fall to the temptation of just following conventional, because the conventional wisdom, which would have been done by the bigger organizations. Right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. I'll stop here and back to the MC, and yeah, I think I'm available for some questions. And yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Marlon. This really, whoa, we are really grateful for this, and I believe even the participant got a lot from it, because I also learned a lot, and also want to thank you for the effort you have put in to simplify concepts that could look complicated. You just simplify it and condense it so that we can be able to get much value from it. We really appreciate that effort. We know a lot of effort must have gone into that to be able to simplify it. And part of the things I got was the emphasis. I mean, you funnily said that don't just spray your gun. I mean, and I believe the emphasis you are doing there was to tell us that we need to have that a target while we do that, and then we should know our target audience, and also know the needs and the like of the target audience. That was very, very, very interesting to go in that conversation. And I also see when you emphasize that it's not necessarily the bigger platform, but that little platform, the way we are able to use it so as to reach more persons. So thank you I believe the participants have a lot of questions to ask. So please, we can just begin to send our questions. If you want to speak, just feel free to unmute and speak, while Dr. Marlon will give answers to our questions. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir. So we can keep our questions coming in. If you want to type it, you can do that. And if you intend to speak, please just proceed. Feel free to do that. Okay. So, sir, okay, someone is raising his hand. So please, you can proceed, Ayokunle.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Marlon, for the very insightful presentation. I just have just one question. How do you leverage on storytelling to reaching out to young people in such a way that it's not skewed towards AI, as in making your story quite relatable to young people and catchy, also embedding the SRHR variables, and there's no AI invasion, because you have a lot of AI in such a way that people just think probably you just drafted a story or AI created the story for you. So how do you make it very relatable to young people, and then it reaches the target audience and brings about the needed engagement? I hope I'm clear enough in my question.
Sorry, say I got distracted a bit. There was a call that was coming in. I apologize. May I ask you to kindly repeat the question, sorry? Now my attention is...
All right. Okay. All right, thank you, sir. All right, so my question is leveraging on digital tools. So how can you engage the niche of storytelling to reach young people in such a way that it is not AI generated? Like, because, when people see things these days, most people just assume it's AI, it's AI. So how do you make it very relatable to your target audience and it engages them and it removes that AI cliche, basically, if I should call it that way?
All right. Okay. So yeah, AI is definitely a productivity tool that we should be able to leverage on, to make life easier for us. But then not everyone, like you rightly said, will appreciate that, and people are smart enough to tell that this content is mechanical, that it's not coming from the heart. So in my response, I am trying not to discourage people from using AI, but then in this age that we are approaching, it's not just about information. It's also now about inspiration. That's what's going to be of more value. So the things that will have humans behind them are the ones that are going to be more valuable than the things that are done by AI. Just for example, how a Rolls Royce is more expensive because it's handmade. Every people that work on it, they will do it by hand, as opposed to some that is assembled by machines. So that's where things are going. So in terms of the content, some of the pressure comes from the platform that you choose to use. Like I said, social media platforms are available, but then we are all competing for eyeballs. So the demand is there is to kind of always come up with content that almost like every day you have to post. If you listen to some of the YouTubers that have made a lot of money, they had that pressure to always then be producing content, and then it ended up affecting their mental health, as well as people can then tell that this is now too mechanical. So the solution is to kind of land somewhere in between. If you say with your content strategy to say we post once a week, then maybe you stick to that once a week, giving you enough time to then seek the inspiration to then come up with content that is then just not mechanical. Because the pressure to then use AI is when someone is committed to do things every day, but then we know that every day, you don't get inspired every day. So your content strategy is you pick your platforms, and then don't put pressure on yourself to post every day. And then let the real stories then come to you. I had we have a Facebook page for a campaign on dyslexia that we ran. It's not, of course, it's not sexual reproductive health, but the content that would get a lot of likes or a lot of engagement in terms of likes and comments and shares, and so is when I would post a real photo and a real story, like a testimony of a mother or a dyslexic, someone who has gone through it, to say, this is how I did it, this was what I went through. So that's a real story. Versus when I would post something which is just like a fact to say, dyslexia is because these are the signs of dyslexia and so forth. That such kind of content would not generate as much engagement. So people want to see other people. So that's why I'm then trying to say, I'm not trying to discourage you from using AI, but where we are going, inspiration is going to matter more than information, and services that have humans behind them. That's what people would really appreciate a lot more. So land in the middle, where AI is helping you maybe manage some of the redundant things. But then when it comes to then inspiration, when it comes to really touching someone's heart, then it really has to be human-generated content, and the inspiration comes when you don't put pressure on yourself to be mechanical and produce something every day. I hope that gives you some answers, sir. Thank you.
Yes, very well. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. And I think that inspiration comes when you don't put much pressure on yourself, so you can think straight. Thank you very much, sir. We have some, okay, if we still have other questions, we can just put in or just raise your hands. We have some reaction from the chat. It said, thank you very much, sir. This was very interesting. That's Victoria Haruna. And Olayinka said, this is great. You manage the time superbly. So we are very grateful for it, sir. And then he's also saying that it is difficult to pick out a question from the presentation, as you have done a great job. So thank you very much. The participants really got value from this session. So please, I just want to also ask, so please, if we still have our questions, we can put it forward. So sir, apart from this the AI that is coming up, are there maybe other digital innovations that you, or maybe a particular trend that you foresee based on your expertise, that in the coming years, it will play a significant role in improving access to SRHR information and services? I mean, so that people on this call can now begin to maybe look to more focusedly on that platform. Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. I got your question. But like what I was trying to point towards in my presentation was that let's not start with technology in mind, because we then run into a trap where we have technology chasing solutions instead of technology being used to solve a problem. Because we always need to have a problem and solution fit. So the temptation that is always there, whether it's AI or any form of technology, is that people would want to then say, okay, this is exciting. So okay, we have Bitcoin coming up. Let's see how we can create something where we then use Bitcoin in let's say sexual reproductive health. And then you can then work on it and then come up with your own crypto, whatever currency kind of based service. But then if we look at the problem on the ground, the people that need this information the most, the people that are vulnerable, like I tried to highlight earlier, that half of the population is still rural. And if we're looking at then access to the internet, half of the population has no access to the internet yet, and the people that are in danger of contracting HIV or being abused or people at a risk of child marriages and so forth, they are really vulnerable. So you then have your fancy sounding crypto service, but then if you were to implement it in Nigeria, you are not reaching enough people. The people that you are reaching are already people that are in the safe zone. To say, they are in urban, well-off, kind of bracket. So they are not the people that are at risk. So I was trying to then highlight that to say, let's not chase the technology, because if we were to work it backwards, we might then see actually that the simple technology, the simple SMS-based one, is the one that will actually achieve the most change. Like I was sharing that example of Mom Connect in South Africa. To say, I think they launched it in 2018 or somewhere thereabouts, after a pilot or so. So in 2018, there were other already fancier forms of technology available. Of course, AI was not as rampant as it is now, but there were other fancier platforms that they could have used. They could have said, all right, this Mom Connect is going to run on Facebook. But then we know that the mothers that are at risk of maternal and child health issues are the ones that are in the rural areas, who will not likely be on Facebook or have regular access to Facebook. So it's always important to start with the problem, understand the problem, identify your target, and understand your target market to say, like that slide, the way I talked about, what is it that they like? What is it that they don't like? What is it that they can afford? What is it that they can be asked to pay for? And then you craft your things from there. Because really there is a trap to fall into chasing after technology, where people then arm twist chatbots to do something that chatbots are not meant to do, because people are saying, no, AI chatbots are the craze. So that I hope that kind of answers it. Say sometimes really, if we just were to take it a bit back, simple based SMS could actually be something then that changes lives. And then once we have established that as the base, for those that will then have access to other, let's say, internet or smartphone devices and so forth, then we can then add onto it. But as far as technology trends, connectivity with Starlink and other services coming on, we can look at a future where access to the internet is going to be ubiquitous, and then the cost of smartphones is going down. So yeah, people will have access to that. AI is still in development, particularly AI that will then speak Yoruba, AI that will then speak Igbo, that will then speak our African languages. That requires people like us to develop it and not wait on Google to do it. But then we'll also still would need to create room for human-generated content that gives people genuine inspiration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And I really appreciate and learned from the angle which you went about it. Okay, that is to say, instead of focusing more on the trend, that the tech trend and the trend that are coming, that we should our focus should be more on the needs of our audience and our target audience.